talk about an example of somebody that I think is incredibly influential and incredibly unique in the world. I've been reading a book about Harriet Tubman. The really sad thing about Harriet Tubman is she is one of the most influential people in American history, and it's really hard to find a good book about her. It's just a bunch of like children's, illustrated books. I looked up on Amazon, I could only find a couple of like real novel books. Do you know why? Who wants to guess why that is? This really bothered me. Anybody venture a guess as to why? Why aren't any more books written about her? Anybody want to venture a guess?
She's black and a woman.
I think that's part of it. I think it's also because she was a slave. Go ahead, yeah.
And she also probably didn't tell her own story.
Right.
You know what I mean?
She wasn't a self-promoter. She was not a Donald Trump. Who here knows, this is a stupid question, who knows the year and date of their birth? Who knows where they were born? And if you don't know, you could probably look it up pretty quickly. We don't know when Harriet Tubman was born or where she was born. Can you believe that? Now think about all the huge influential people through history that you'd say, boy, that person was really unique. They really filled their gap. We celebrate their birth date with holidays. And yet Harriet Tubman, we don't even know when she was born. Why do I bring this up? Because we have these preconceived notions. We think we need to have wealth or influence or 100,000 Twitter followers in order to be our unique self. And yet Harriet Tubman was born with no advantages. She was a slave. She was physically abused to the point where somebody struck her with a lead weight in the head. And for the rest of her life, she would, in the middle of a conversation, stop talking and fall asleep. Only a few minutes later to start talking again as if it had never happened. And so we think, man, my life is so hard. If only I had been born with parents who had supported me more, or if only I had been born in a wealthier neighborhood or gone to a better school, then I could really be who I was meant to be. No, I don't think that's true. Because look at how much influence Harriet Tubman has had on our world. Now here's another point about Harriet Tubman. She saved 70 people from slavery. Now a lot of us, me included, we think 70 people. That's not a lot of people to impact over the course of your entire life. And yet Harriet Tubman wasn't concerned with numbers or, self-promotion. She was concerned with doing what she could for the people around her. And I think that that's incredibly unique. And I love that about her. Because she was so focused on saving the people that she could and influencing the people that she could, millions of people were saved as a result of that. And I think that's an incredibly important part. One of the things I love about Harriet Tubman is she had a vision for the future. When she was a young woman, she contracted with her master, the man who owned her, that she could become her own agent. As a young girl, can you imagine bucking the system, having a vision for a different world, where she would go to her master and say, I'm going to be my own agent. I'm going to hire myself out to these other people, and I'll give you a cut of the money since you own me, but I get to keep the extra. And she said to herself, she said, one of the things I need to get ahead in this world is a cow. She needed some infrastructure and some equity and some resources, so she needed a cow. A cow cost $40 at the time. And she reasoned that she could save $10 a year for 4 years and buy the cow. Can you imagine the patience and vision that it took her in that situation to plan ahead 10 years and to save $10 a year? I have a hard time waiting for my burrito in the microwave, right? I get impatient when I fly and I've got a big guy next to me, I've got to share the armrest, and we're flying across the country on a 5-hour flight. And I forget about the fact that I'm in a spaceship, traveling 2,500 miles across the world. So this is the type of perspective that we can lose sight on, right? I bring up all these things because I believe in the importance of looking at really unique people and not copying them, but curating. So you look at that and you don't say, I'm going to be Harriet Tubman. I would be a pretty poor Harriet Tubman. I need to be Justin. But she has some wonderful things in her life, and I could say, that one thing is kind of like something I see in myself. I'm going to see what she did, and I'm going to hone what's in me by curating those ideas. A lot of people talk about mentoring, and we have this idea of mentoring where we want to have this one mentor that kind of brings us through life, right? I don't necessarily believe in that, because one person doesn't have all the answers. I think you should go to the person who's a great financier to talk about investing, the person who's a great parent to talk about parenting. If you talk to the person about financing and he or she's great at financing, you say, well, what about my children? They might be a horrible dad or mom. Do you want to take their advice in everything? So it's about curating ideas from people in our life that are unique.